Okay, so good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining us this morning. In case we have any new folks on the call, for the first time, my name's Deb Tushold. I'm the Executive Director of Sask Organics. And we also have Dunling Wang here. He's the Provincial Specialist of Alternative Cropping Systems with the Saskatchewan Ministry of Agriculture. And we typically host 6 of these meetings per year. The first 3 months and the last 3 months of the year, we take a nice break for seeding and during summer and harvest. But so we always and Dunling has graciously agreed to continue these meetings into next year for 2026 as well. So that's great, and we're thankful Dunling is willing to do that. So we always start the meeting with a short presentation by Dunling, and then we open it up for the last half or so for questions, sharing, that kind of thing. So this morning's topic, of course, you can see it on the screen there, the benefits of intercropping, and Dunling has some research updates and specific for us. So I guess with that, we'll just get started and I'll turn it over to Dunling. So thanks, Dunling.
Oh, thanks for the great introduction. I like that. uh, yeah, in today's presentation, I'm going to update the intercrop benefits with 4 research work that was published recently, and I hope that would help you to understand what the intercropping is. Particularly, well, what I'm going to do is to present this kind of research work in other part of the world, and some of those are, I feel like it's very interesting research, although it's not conducted into with on the organic under organic systems. But slowly I will narrow that kind of update to prairies, and then to Saskatchewan, then to organic, and see how that would, hope would help. Yeah, the first, we already know that intercropping is more efficient in using space and resources. That really help to improve the crop yield. More species in an ecosystem help perform higher functions. And when one crop in the crop mix is failed, and you still have a harvest from the unaffected crop that will use the resources that released by the failed crop and partially compensate for the lost yield. This is what we observe for intercropping can be considered as additional insurance as extreme weather become more frequent and the pest pressure become more intense. Potentially the intercropping reduce risks of loss in production caused by extreme weather. The first research work I'm going to discuss is about the long-term increased grain yield and soil fertility from intercropping. And this is published on Nature. And apparently, if something published on Nature, it's a high quality research. Nature doesn't publish those kind of bad research things. And this research was this research work was published in 2021, and it's highly circulated research. I'm going to tell you a few things that research found. And this research was conducted on 4 different sites. One site, this research continued for 16 years, and 3 other sites for 10 years. So each experiment consists of a comparable monoculture and intercropping. Amazingly, they use the crops similar to what we have over here, except the corn, soybeans. And the research done is a corn crop in that country. It was in China, in northwest China, and it's called maize crop combined with one of those 5 crops. One is wheat, faba bean, soybean, chickpea, and rapeseeds. So you could see that it's a cereal to cereal, cereal to pulses, and cereal to oilseeds. The 2 experiments with equal fertilization. They have 5 experiments designed, 2 experiments with equal fertilization. The plots receive identical fertilization treatment. They use exactly same amount nutrient supplies. And 3 experiments with optimum fertilization. Monoculture receives the optimal fertilization, which is recommended by the soil testing and plants, agrology recommendations. And the intercropping part receive fertilization for the maize. So maize is a high nutrients demand crop. So under this kind of experiment design, none of those plots would have a short nutrient supply. So basically, it's the results would show what exactly this intercrop would do. In total, there are 1,242 pairs of the intercropping and monocrop you could compare. That's amazing because not many research in the world to conduct for that long time and use so many so many pairs, and it's all from beginning to the end. It was repeat same kind of treatment for 10 to 16 years. This is amazing research. The results are shown on this part. You probably could see my cursor. Can you?
Yeah, we can see it.
Oh, okay. On this red data show it's monocrop, and this the blue ones are intercropping, and this is the average and medium yield, medium and average yield, and this is a data, individual data. And you could see during those years, the green one, the blue ones always have a better performance. They have a higher yield, and yield is pretty, pretty high. We don't compare those yield with the Canadians. Those are the 10th per hectare. So you could see probably double or triple of our regular crop yield here, because they use a very intensive, management. And almost every site, almost exactly every site, the intercrop perform better than the monocrops, and they always have a higher, yield. This is summarized on the site basis. So this is one site, 2 site. These 2 are the equal fertilization. So they apply same kind of fertilizers to both intercrop and monocultures, exactly same. And these 3 are the optimal treatment with fertilizers. So every kind of fertilization system, you would see this intercrop perform much better than the monocrop. And here, this diagram under the second diagram over here, this is coming from 2003 until 2018, that 16 years. And the, those are individual like the red ones is the yield of the monocrop. The blue ones is the intercrop, and intercrop always perform better. They are some are they are lower, but in general, it's very good. The For the two equal fertilization experiment, average intercropping yield is 21.5% higher than monocrop. This is a 16 years average. And for the three optimum fertilization experiment, average yield is 22.3% higher than monocrop. So this gives some kind of ideas. If we could constantly receive over 20% return, that is amazing. Well, you could argue this is a fertilizer, but even with fertilizer, intercrop perform better, and the yield difference become greater with the elongation of the intercropping as the intercrop continues. At the very beginning, when the experiment started, the blue line is so close to the average. This is the average of the yield is so close to average of mono. And as time goes, the blue line start departing from the mono. And you see that at the end of this experiment, it was a huge difference, about 2 to 3 tenths per hectare. This is the yield difference. This is the research show. And another part this research proof is the improved yield stability. So those guys, developed this kind of concept, define the yield stability by ratio of average grain yield to its standard deviation over the study period. That would be like, 16 years. And if you use your imagination, if the yield is high and the standard deviation is small, and it would have a very high stability numbers. And so a high number of this ratio often mean more stable crops. But if you have a low yield of very big variation, the standard deviation will be high, and then the yield divide by a high number, then it will be a smaller. So a smaller number means the yield is not stable. And if you look at this diagram, in every site, every experiment design, the yield stability is much higher than in the intercrop, with the intercrop, than the monoculture. So this is something that we need to know. For a short period of time, experiment like 2 years, you would never see this kind of information. So this research basically show that yield is going to increase continuously if you continue to do the intercropping. And I just want to show one of those graphs, which is similar to the crop yield, is soil structure. Large aggregates, larger than 2 millimeters, are significantly increased in all intercropped plots, while the smaller aggregates less than 0.1 millimeters are reduced at the same time on those sites. So this is the results. There are those stars show at 1,000 level, like extremely significant, P is less than 0.001. So that means this is a real effect. The intercrop promote soil structure to form, and which people believe is a mechanism driving the long-term increase in crop yield, because the structure help to preserve the soil organic matter, and will be able to hold more moisture, all those kind of things, and help to provide protection for soil microbes, and all those things help to improve the crop yield. That was the first research. The second research was published in 2024, last year. It was done by Linda Green, and she's a professor at the University of Alberta in Edmonton. And she actually summarized this group did this investigation. And here's well, before I would introduce the results, I would first introduce a concept of land equivalent ratios, and many of you already know that concept. And if you never heard of this before, land equivalent ratio is a measure of land use efficiency in agriculture system, especially specifically designed for intercropping. I think that time it was Lana Shang who participate, developed this kind of concept. LER compares the combined yield of multiple crop grown together to the land area required to achieve the same kind of yield if each crop was grown separately under the monoculture systems. This is the research results done by the Indian Head in 2021. I use this graph to explain what it is. Like they actually did a study on the canola, pea, and alternate to row intercropping. This is the results. The monocrop for canola, the yield for that 2021 is 46.6 bushels per hectare, and the peas yield is 46.3 when they grow together with alternative, arrangement. The canola yield was 26.3, and pea yield is 26.3. And if we use this canola and pea as one in their monocrop systems, and we could figure it out, like this is 57% of this pea yield when they grow together, and the canola part is 59% of the canola yield grown separately. When you add this together, it's not 1 anymore, it's 1.16. So anything that any LER value greater than 1.0 means that the intercropping is the more land efficient. In other words, intercrop system produce more yield from a given area than these two crops grow as monocrop. Yeah, what they figured out, the crop between legume and non-legumes, their growth are influenced by all those factors, and then eventually produce a yield which is, they call it partial LER. That means just particularly calculate based on that crop itself. And you have LER for the legumes, which is corresponding to this 0.57 for the legume and 0.59 for the canola. And when you add it together, it will be the total. It will be a total LER for this kind of intercropping. And what did Linda Green find? Here it is. This is what they did. They basically combined all those research done in past 40 years in the prairies and looking at a group of those kind of crops, including POS is pea oilseeds, and PC is pea canola, PB is pea and barley, and PCL is CLS is pea cereals. And they group this together and see what the LER did to the intercrops for the pea oil seeds. And you could see this is a 1.0 and almost like 80, 90% of those experiments show a positive land equivalent ratio. That means the yield is higher. Some are even close to 1.5, like 50% increase with the intercrops, with the pea oil seeds. And PCL, P cereals, and the majority is still above. In certain cases, it was not that great. And for the L pea canola, yeah, this is the pea canola, and you see that it's the majority are also better perform. And amazing, this is a pea barley. Oh, what I should say this too. And these are done with the fertilizer, how much fertilizer they provided. And under this pea oil seeds, pea canola, and it doesn't matter how much fertilizer you add, it didn't show a whole lot of difference. See, they perform pretty consistent. They don't have a linear relationship with nutrient fertilization. You add more fertilizer, you have a better yield. But for barley, the if you add more fertilizer and actually the intercropping yield is lower, that's pretty interesting. So the best performance is the under the low nutrient conditions, like zero nitrogen was applied, and you see that the intercrop performed the best. As more fertilizer added, they perform better. They perform even worse. And the third experiment was done by Jeff Chino at the University of Saskatchewan. And this one I summarized and published at the Abundance Journal about 2 years ago. This research was done by in Centreville and in the Rivers. What they found, the research, what they found, they have this kind of flax and chickpea and mustard and pea. They use these two crops, and they use fertilized land or use no fertilized land, which mimic the low soil fertility of organic. But they didn't do the experiment with the organic certifying farms. So what they found with this study, they found the synergy in nutrient uptake in the pulse oilseed intercropping. And they found that all LER values for nitrogen uptake is greater than 1. And the second important thing he find is the nitrogen fixed by pulse crop can be shared by the oilseeds crop during the growing season. That means in the same season, and the oilseeds crop would be able to benefit the nitrogen fixed by the legume, and the number of nitrogen shared by the oilseeds range from 9% 41%. That means 9 to 41% of nitrogen used by the non-oil seeds are coming from the nitrogen fixed by the legumes in the same season, and more nitrogen left in root zone for the following crops. That's what the research found. And here is the soluble nitrogen in soil after harvest, except those kind of transfer to help the crop production for that season. In red verse, this is a pea mono, and you can see under the mono pea crop, the leftover nitrogen level is pretty high. This is the total nitrogen milligram per kilogram, ppms. This is the mustard mono crop, and which doesn't have a whole lot of nitrogen, compared to the pea crop. And those are the intercrops. And this is a mixed row. That means the pea and the mustard grow mixed together. And the last two are this is a pea alternative and this mustard alternative, because those are different plots, right? You have one row of pea and one row of mustard. And you can see that under mustard, if there's no nitrogen transfer or mixing, and the residual nitrogen should be similar to this one, but apparently when you have intercropping, there are some of the nitrogen in the fixed by P already, left under this mustard row, I mean, in the soil. So compared to that, you see a certain increase of nitrogen over there. This is the 2019 results. This is the 2020 results. And it's quite similar. And with mono mustard, it got minimum, the lowest nitrogen residue left in the soil. And this is century built. And remember, both these years are extremely drought. So this is the situation. And you could see, yeah, they leave about 2, 3, or 4, 5 more ppms, are like 12, 13, 10 kilogram, 10 pounds of nitrogen in the soil for next crop. And the same research also find that improved soil P availability, and increased P uptake in intercropping system. They saw that in both mixed and alternative row arrangement, that could be attributed to enhanced soil P availability to both crops in the intercropping systems. And I therefore would think, they did find that AMF, a vascular, mycorrhizal fungi colonies around flax roots, is increased when grown with chickpea. And post-crop roots also would be able to release organic acids, which can lower soil pH. That's what his suspicion. But he said, to confirm these things, we need to do another research. And the recent crop research by the fourth research will be, it is a recent intercrop research by Dr. Miriam Fernandez on the organic management system. And those research suggest organic intercropping can be a powerful tool for resilience in dry climate. And a strategic crop combination and seeding ratio are essential for maximize the benefits. And those kind of strategy, seeding ratios and combination, depends on the climate conditions. And the farm situations. So you might have to figure that out a little bit yourself through your own on-farm trials. Continue to try this and then find the best kind of crops that could work together, and also the seeding ratios. The research results support the integration of intercropping into organic cropping system to improve yield, soil health, and weeds management. A 2 years study of intercropping lentil and field pea with oats and mustard on the organic system during dry and average climate condition revealed that intercropping outperformed monoculture in terms of grain weight, protein content, and overall productivity. Non-legume thrive in dry conditions, contributing significantly to the biomass and yield. Weed suppression improves when you grow intercrop, even under drought conditions. So that suggests intercropping is a valuable alternative to green manure. If if you could grow intercrop that year, you would have you would have a harvest, have a financial benefit, and in the meantime, you would have nitrogen fixation occurring as well, and also suppress weeds. That's what Miriam tried to say. Field pea show better resilience than lentils when competing with companion crops. That means they grow better. Lentils is fix less nitrogen and yeah, it's not as competitive as a pea because they are not they they have to grow under the shed a little bit. Another study focuses on the impact of legume intercrop on the subsequent dorium wheat crop after the intercrop. And this research revealed that dorium wheat grow after legume intercrop achieved some of the highest grain yield and a biomass level. This kind of rotation, I mean the intercrop of legume with oil seeds and then grow a cereal crop, support soil fertility and crop performance, especially in organic system where synthetic inputs are not allowed. And he probably did another comparable study with the fertilized plots. So this kind of results, he would be able to conclude that. The results enforce the value of diversifying cropping system for long-term sustainability and productivity. That's what his fund was saying. So potential application for this kind of thing, we could think what my suggestion is keep intercropping in mind when you develop your organic system plan. If there's a possibility to insert intercropping, do it. Because particularly when your soil testing results show that you have a significant amount of nitrogen left, or but it would not be able to support a great yield. In that case, think about use intercrop. In that case, the intercrop, the legumes in the intercrop will be able to fix nitrogen, support itself, and leave the nitrogen for the non-legumes, or the legume crops would share certain amount of those nitrogen fixed by itself with their companions. In that case, they are not going to reduce the soil fertility by grow intercrop, and you could continue your organic rotation plan. If you could, elongate 3 years cash crop with one intercrop to a 4 cash crop, one intercrop, your farm financial situation would be, you could calculate this, would be, should be improved. And always conducting on-farm trials on crop combination before you do a big acres, particularly the companion crop idea. Sometimes the companion companion crop is a part of the intercrop. That the companion crop concept is coming from you have a major crop and then you have a smaller ones. For example, many organic producers don't like to try the chickpea and flax combination for certain reasons. But if you feel like, yeah, I don't know, I never grew this before, I could use the chickpea as a companion crop, grow the flax as whatever you grow, and just spread a small amount, let's say 5% or 10% of the chickpea seeds, recommended chickpea seeds scattered in the field. And then you have this chickpea as a companion crop, and the flax is your main crop. You just grow like what you did with the flax, and probably you'll be surprised that like you would have some of chickpea and the flax yield is not affected at all. And use this research results to guide you in growing cover crop to increase nitrogen fixation or biomass production. And this what is what I mean is you could grow cover crops using this kind of intercropping results to guide your green manure production. Always put this legume in your intercrop, in your cover crop mixture. Always, and I still hear some people, grow cereals that doesn't have any nitrogen fixers in it as a cover crop. So always, particularly for organic. And when you grow this kind of legume with cereals and or oil seeds crops, and the nitrogen fixed by the legume would be able to disperse to those crops, and which help the legume continue to fix more nitrogen. And when those cover crops die and are terminated, and all those will be contributing to your soil nitrogen pool. To summarize, uh, I would say the intercropping reduce crop failure by increased crop diversity and reduce incidents from pest and disease, increase the soil carbon sequestration and reduce greenhouse gas emission, which was done by the first experiment, but I didn't, because it's a long graph, I didn't really want to present it, but it was there. Diversifying soil biodiversity is and maintaining soil AMF level, which is very important for organic system for the crop to absorb phosphorus and other micronutrients, improve biological nitrogen fixation, build soil nitrogen reserves, and mobilizing soil phosphorus and make it available for crop to take and increase crop yield stability, and land use ratio. So yeah, that's what I'm to present today. Any